zivule kamva lam amaphupha afezeke. Ndombathe ethongo sebendilandela, isingqi sam sindikhomba phambili. Vungama ngonyama yehlathi amandla ndinawo. Xa ndisenze lo hlobo ke ndithi bayethe kuLindokuhle, Kush Mahleka lo ndihleli naye. Kugatyeni lo ndondela umama lo mthi raka ziinkomo ezibomvisi ezimnyama ngezinikwa amahlwempu. I would like to welcome everybody who's watching to the 4th episode of Conversations with Gatyeni podcast. And I'm with my guest, Lindokuhle. Lindokuhle. Lindokuhle is a poet that has done some work for Amanda Black, that has done some work for Mobi Dixon. A poet that dates back before 2014. As a Sakfunda NMMU. Where did this start from? Your poetry.
2006, I remember precisely actually. 2006, and Yobona Rodada for the first time. Visiting my father's family for the first time. I was 14 years old. So in this journey, I meet the cousin of the cousins. And then cousin, now your cousin, Amos.
Yeah.
A cousin. So he told me about poetry. We used to write letters to each other. I didn't know anything about poetry. So as usual, they never got to me. But he told me about it. He said, listen to Tupac. He writes about his problems. Forget the beats. Listen to what he says. And you'll hear it's just problems. So now you're a beautiful writer. Do the same thing. So I started listening to Tupac. I'm like, okay, this sounds nice. And I started writing in poetry form because he showed me some of the things, and then that's how it started.
So when you won the 2014 Best Poet in the NMMU, already at that time you've already been performing?
Yes, I had been performing because I started performing, I would say 2007. I remember 2007, 21st of May was my first time on stage at school, at Utinik High School. My teacher found a piece of poetry in my book, and not the English. So she found a poem then, and she was like, "Hey man, come in. I know you're a very confident child. Tell me about this." So I just told her, "No, it's just a poem I wrote. Didn't mean anything. I'm sorry. I don't tell my parents." So yeah, that was my first experience.
So I think in one of the previous episodes we were talking about spiritual gifts. And Siteta about music is also a spiritual gift. Poetry. Could you say, because in one of your actually poems you were mentioning that music, you were beginning to blame music for breaking your heart. What happened in that period?
So so let me tell you about the intro. The intro, I start and I end, and then Amanda starts.
Yes, or the intro from Amanda Black.
Yes, it's the intro from Amanda.
That album is called Power. Yes, Power.
So she's the one who felt heartbroken by music. So the first part of it was me, where I was talking about picking yourself up and going through it again. So yeah.
No one can save you.
No one can save you.
That's one of the parts.
It's more of a prophecy because my relationship with poetry and my spirituality is so in sync to a point where I always say I never know what I'm writing. It just comes naturally. Some of the poems I literally only understand a few years later, or someone is bound to say, "Oh my God, I understood that line when you said this and this. It meant this to me." And then I'm like, "Oh, that's what it meant."
So the opportunity with Amanda Black, how did it come about?
Amanda Black is a friend of mine.
Oh.
We went to NMMU together.
Oh, okay.
That's where we met. So we've carried each other throughout the years. We've never been we've never not had a relationship since she left school. So when we continued with our friendship, She was in Durban in August 2019. And I had a performance that weekend, and she also had a performance.
Oh.
So it was the first time I was seeing her perform, and it was her first time seeing me perform since 2014.
Yeah.
So
Brought back memories.
I think I always say to her when I ask you got to study nyana, and you know. So that's how we did it.
So in terms of the feature, what impact do you think it had on your career? In terms of being noticed by so and so, because that's quite a powerful intro in that album.
You know the thing about fate. The thing about fate is when it doesn't matter where it comes from, what corner. When it's yours, it's yours. I understand it as something that was a journey to me because this isn't a person I was not familiar with.
Yes.
This is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
You understand? So building that relationship, I always know to be humble about the things that happen. Because if you would look at how everything has gone and the expectation of the human, the normal human, you'll be like, oh, you're supposed to be further than where you are right now. So I always say, no, it's exactly what was supposed to happen, exactly when it was supposed to happen. It was a beautiful opportunity that I had to grab by both hands, and I did.
So after that, the Mobi Dixon.
You see, that's why it opens up. So you are nice and humble about this, and then the next one comes in. Who knows if Black Hope is looking for me?
Hey, let's hope so.
Who knows?
There might be somebody who's looking for you.
Exactly.
And the problem is now you're not active on Twitter. You've lost your account.
I lost my password.
Yeah.
I lost my
password. I'm sure even today some people are still checking.
Yeah, I lost my password.
So the Mobi Dixon opportunity, how did you meet him? How did it come about?
That was funny.
The intro you did.
Yes.
Sorry, you Utunyiwa, that's the intro you did.
I met him in my mind. I literally went up to him in my mind. I told him that we were going to spark up a friendship, him and I.
Yeah.
And we were going to work together. And in order for this working together thing to happen, we need to be friends. And we need to solidify this friendship of ours.
Yeah.
And I told him that I had a performance the next day. Take out your phone, let me give you my number. Give me a call. Come support me as your friend.
Yeah.
You understand? I'm not saying come check out my work.
No. Support your friend.
Support your friend. That's what I'm doing.
So you had a performance the next day?
I had a performance the next day. And luckily he came. He pulled through and we enjoyed ourselves. He enjoyed the performance and then he said, we'll talk. And I knew that we'll talk. I had finished whatever I wanted. It was done.
The friendship was solidified.
Friendship was solid. I didn't care if we met again the next day. I was waiting for that one phone call.
So when you walk up to him, did you expect him to actually pitch the next day?
No. It was quite a surprise. It was a surprise. But at the same time, I know I'm very good at saying stupid things. You know, they turn out for the better at all times. So I had hope when I approached him, and also I wasn't just going to him out of the fun of he's right here in front of me. It was something that he also needed to learn in a spiritual journey that I needed to let go of in mine as well. So because the two intros together, they're so linked, and
they are.
But they also tell a different journey of each, and they pave the way for me to see what the next one is. So
no, I can't get it because your poetry, when you listen to your poetry, it's very spiritual, and it shakes your soul when you listen, and you've got a good command of your tongue. I don't want to lie. Must. So when it comes to that inspiration in terms of delivering that type of poetry, do you think, or in fact, I want to get to a point whereby, for me, when I look at that, I see a gift. I'm like, damn, Opiwo. uphiwe and uphiwe ngamagama. I remember watching an interview, for instance, from one of the Unzika saying that no, uyaziphupha ingoma. Does your poetry also come from that deep and whereby uvukana thongo?
I can tell you there's a specific poem in grade 11. It was about Steve Biko. I swear to God, that day I woke up sweating. I think it was around maybe 3 a.m. in the morning. I woke up sweating and I already had a pen and paper next to me. And I woke up and I wrote this poem. And I wrote this poem where I was talking to Steve Biko and I was lashing out. I was saying all of these things. And as soon as I slept again, we continued with the conversation. And I woke up the next day. I'm like, oh God, school again. Okay, let's make me happy. Yeah. And I get up and I see this thing next to my bed. I'm like, and then what's this? It's an entire 3-page poem. 3 pages in poem. Okay, I paid no mind, I go bath, I come back. When I come back, my aunt comes back from a trip that she had from work, wearing a Herald, and then puts it was Stevie's 35th anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
And then I beg a piece of page, and it's like, oh, I thought you'd be interested in this. I know how much you respect to Steve Biko. I'm like, this is weird. And I look at the poem, and it is everything in the Pupile. The entire conversation I had with him was there, and that's when I believed that I know.
There's something deeper.
I don't know. This is beyond me. This is beyond me.
So what happens when something moves you and you decide to ignore it? Let's say you are in a crowd. Because sometimes does it happen to imbongi yesiba? Because imbongi yesiba must, I presume.
Yes.
Yeah. It happens that something moves you, then you have to recite, then. Then if you don't?
I love one thing about my people. They're timid. So stuttering kind of creates problems when I'm nervous. So because of the training of knowing, okay, I'm in a chance now, I can't focus on anything. I don't care what I'm about to say to you. I just need to say it. It's the same thing that happens you don't think of the fact that you write. It just happens. So my people do it differently. They do it in song.
Oh.
I have no idea how it came about. It just happens. So I come up with songs because it depends what the crowd needs for that day. I don't go with poems knowing the crowd is depressed. If we need to channel that depression that day, I'm gonna bring poems of that.
So, because when I listen to, especially the 2 intros, the one from Amanda Black's album Power and also the one from Mobi Dixon, I get a sense of when you are performing on stage, there are souls you touch whereby you heal through the poetry.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're a healer, and as much as you're a healer, you're a businesswoman.
You've got to be paid.
Exactly. So you need to create ways of strengthening and broadening your spirituality.
But then the market in South Africa, sorry to cut you, the market in South Africa when it comes to poetry, in terms of monetizing, do you think it's strong enough? Or you guys are still just
It is hard. I don't think, because I'm a person who dropped out of school for this.
Yeah.
It became louder and louder until I couldn't take it anymore. And it isn't anything that makes sense to my parents. It still doesn't even make sense to me.
So they never really.
Yeah.
You gambled there.
Yeah, it depends how many times you're on TV that I don't like you. But it's one of those things where you suffer for. Because if you are coming to a party and they invited you to a party, you need to come with these happy poems, whereas you're thinking about how if Adele is invited to a party, she's not gonna come in playing irreplaceable. She's still gonna sing one and only, and then all these other songs. So you need to accept yourself as a certain kind of entertainment first, and second, try not to fit in.
Because you might lose yourself.
You're gonna lose yourself in the process. So as much as the market is hard, you need to keep on pushing, and you can't let every no become a no. Because I always tell people, no, listen, I'm introducing you to a different kind of item in your program. Imagine people thinking there's a song coming, and comes in a woman with a different voice who speaks to them exactly what they need, and it leaves. I don't see. Dad, somebody go perform. Dad.
It's quick. So in terms of artists, now we have worked with Amanda and Mobi. Which other artists that you truly love to work with?
I'd love to work with a whole lot of people, but I think there's still something fascinating about being around my people, and there's still something very fascinating about making it through my people's hands. Because the one thing that is common about the two of them is that they're from the Eastern Cape.
I
love that. I love that. So when I advance more and more, I want to get deep into it, but internationally.
Oh, okay.
If you missed me now, then you can't get me by the time I get there. But I'd love to work with Black Motion. I'd love to work with Black Coffee. People who understand music. Because I don't want to work with someone who says, I love your sound. No, understand music, fall in love with music, because then you understand me and you'll be able to channel whatever that I'm trying to channel.
And Black Motion, damn.
Exactly. They will do wonders.
I know they will do wonders. They will do wonders.
Mobi and I recorded the intro before the sound.
Oh, okay.
He went on a getaway at some resort, and then he came back and he said, Kush, you are a genius. I'm like, oh, okay. What did I do? What's going on? It's like, I came up with the sound, and you led me to it. Came through to my place and we listened to it. Birds. Water. And everything was recorded on his phone.
Damn.
So it was easy now for people to, when they hear it, because it's the voice, it's the birds, it's the water, it's everything. And
it just connects.
Yes. So that's what you want to work with, someone who understands where you are coming from.
That's what Black Motion. It comes around. So in terms of, because I know you got an opportunity, those once in a lifetime opportunities of performing in the Essence Festival.
Yes. New Orleans Essence Festival. That was in 2020, June of 2020. As I remember, we went to record on the 15th. I got the call recently. I was at my mother's place at Port. And I'm taking a nap. Comes this call, I'm already just not feeling good about it. I'm like, who's waking me up at this time? Hello? It wasn't even at night, it was probably around 4. Hello? Hi, Kush, are you good? Madam, I'm good, thank you. How are you? They're channeling me as Kush business. Yes, ma'am. So, you're speaking to Kacheso from ACA, calling in regards to Essence Festival, the New Orleans Essence Festival. They're having a virtual event.
Yes.
It's okay. I'm half asleep. And then they talk money. Is this amount of money okay? I'm like, how many minutes? Like 10 minutes. I'm like, how much? Hey, they put the dollars. I'm sorry. It should be okay. Wait, I can try. I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot. Oh my God. I woke up, like it woke me up from that.
Children, happy, the mood in G, securing the bed.
Okay, so when do you guys need this? When if you can avail it, I can even walk there. So I try. Go ahead. So that's how the essence came through. And then I remember right after that call, I called Amanda, who was sleeping herself. I'm like, bro, your management just called me. They asking me to perform. She's like, oh yeah, that's great. Chairman's a program go. Sharp. They phone pass and I come back. I'm bang
Mom P.
I repeated it, man. She calls me back. It's like, oh my god, what do you mean? We are doing Essence Festival. Because now she got the invite as well.
Yeah.
She was doing main stage. I was on the After Dark concert with alongside Mikasa, Master KG, and other international acts. But I was the only poet.
Sure.
And I watched all of those videos, and I never found another poet.
I saw as well.
Yeah.
I saw that's something I noticed.
And I was the only poet, and it was amazing. We shot it on the 15th of June. Amanda hooked me up with a wonderful dress. Like, we had to look for an outfit.
Mm.
We went shopping, we couldn't find anything, and then she's like, wait, I have something in my wardrobe I've never worn before. And that's when I got that leopard print dress.
Oh, yes.
Looking
No, you're looking good.
Oh,
looking good. Aye.
Think I was broken. But yeah, that's how I got the essence. It was a beautiful experience. It was a wonderful experience to see how these shows happen, how quickly it all goes in and out. Go record. You have your 10 minutes, you perform, they ask you questions. Please get ready for makeup. Or are you done? That's yes.
Everything from personality to top time.
Be poet.
Superstar.
Be poet and cool
No, man, that was quite an experience for you.
Yeah.
That was quite an experience. I saw that because you tweeted about it actually.
Yes.
That's why I noticed. Oh, okay.
I couldn't believe it was Lam that day. I couldn't understand. Man, I want to go over time.
So such experiences, even in your lowest moments, you find yourself patting yourself on the back that I need to push. I need to push and move on. But yeah, so where to from now on when it comes to poetry? Anything in the lineup?
Definitely, there's lots in the lineup. There's a lot I need to do. So I have a 2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old daughter, Oskongo Mushebetogo Amandla Mahlek. And she she happened out of nowhere that one.
Like all of us, most of us. With us.
I found out at 7 months I was pregnant. 7 months. Surprise! Hi, I'm here. So when my daughter was born and how I did not know and everything, I felt it was time for me to do the things I've been mostly scared of. So I'm trying to take out a book pretty soon. It's called 1 Year Stand, Moments and Memories, because I write from moments and memories.
Yes.
And 1 Year Stand is one of the first poems to get out Most people still call me 1 Year Stand when they see me.
So it's a trademark.
Yeah, it's a trademark. So what I really want to do is for my daughter to one day say, even if she's 15, the reason why I never got to see my mother until a certain time was because she was doing this. So I need to take out that book. I need to perform more. Performing on the 4th of June at Curiosity. There's a friend of mine who's having a show there, Shaman Chand. So I'm blessing that stage. I just did
4th of June.
Yes.
Curiosity.
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 Maboneng.
Okay.
Maboneng. Fox
definitely do have to support.
It's 302 Fox Street, Maboneng. Yeah.
4th of June at Curiosity, Maboneng.
We are always there. But it's going to be amazing, man. I always bring my total. No, you know what the priority always is? Make them cry.
Yeah, exactly. If you get their emotions, then you're good.
They'll forget you suck. All they will remember about Elkan is a plan of Mazana Vitan.
Sometimes you bring the pain into something, but confront the pain.
Because some of the poems I write and the intros, they're completely different from the work that I do. Because I write about relationships a lot.
No.
You know, I write a lot about relationships. And situation at once because it's still never fit to when you're about to make some fun.
What heter, oh, dedication, we have book to that bastard.
The new ones I had written. So I was at Savona Music Jam. And I performed this one that was for these friends of mine who were murdered because of there was LGBTQI violence. So I lost a friend of mine, even in a cutting edge.
Yeah.
Only those.
Yeah.
So I wrote this poem called Black Men. And the first line is very black men, especially.
Yeah, I understand.
I would go in with those, but okay, when I'm saying it should be there. If not, then phone tell us.
If there's a black man in the audience,
black men are starting to smell musty and murderous.
No, man, we'll support definitely on the 4th of June. Yeah, I think for us, it has been a short and sweet conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
This was fun.
It was. No, thanks for blessing this house. Lindokuhle, Kush, do catch it out at Curiosity in Maboneng on the 4th of June. I think probably they'll Google that, then they'll find out. Yeah. Kwande, apho ithatha khona amazwi nalapho ke ngoku ibhege ziba khona another Essence Festival must call it.
Yes.
Black Motion must. Okay, guys, thanks for everybody who was watching. This is the 4th episode, Conversations with Gakeni podcast. Diabule.
Come on.